Whether you're an IHP or not an IHP, what I want to do is share with you how to save time in your day by batching and chunking. All right, everybody, welcome back to another Integrative Health Coach Success podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Cabral, board-certified Doctor of Naturopathy, founder of the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, where we've now helped over 5,000 people go through the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute curriculum to learn that education, that knowledge for themselves, their families, or go on to become a certified health coach. If you don't know about IHP, of course, you can check that out at Integrative Health Practitioner Institute. integrativehealthpractitioner.org. You'll be able to find out much more about it there. But this is really important because if you work with clients, the problem is you only get paid for your time for the most part, right? I mean, that's how most people, unless you're on salary, get compensated. And that's okay. Like, that's literally okay. But I shared last week, let me see here. I shared last week, I believe it was 276, and I'm going to link that up at ihp.coach/278 today. I'll link up previous podcasts, but I gave you how much time that you really need to be spending on your prep work and all of that. And really what it works out to be is for essentially let me do the math here quickly, every 2 to 3 hours of service, it's about a half hour to 30 minutes of prep, depending on your profession. So let's say you're an IHP level 2 and you're doing labs with a client. You can very easily prep for 90 minutes for 4 hours of straight clients. You can definitely do that. And so when we look at that, that's about right ratio wise. But what we have to understand is, and I've talked with so many IHPs and so many health coaches, that what they're doing is they're doing like appointment, prep, then they're taking some time off, and it really eats up their day. When I started working with personal trainers, because myself being a personal trainer back in the day as well, they were basically doing 1 hour appointments, and they weren't starting until like 7 in the morning, and then they were working till like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And I'm like, this industry is a mess. It's so unhealthy for people that are supposed to be healthy. So what I did was I created 2 shifts, and it revolutionized. Like we had a huge team, and we had so many people who wanted to be on the team. We had a dozen people, just personal trainers, on the team. And the way that it worked is we had 2 shifts. We had a 6 a.m. shift, or 5:30 if they wanted to come in, and they worked till 1 or 1:30. And the next shift, where they were the evening crew, they worked from 2 to 8:30 or so, 9 o'clock at night. And it made a real like normal schedule, because usually personal trainers just worked all the morning and all the night. But what we did was we taught them a real semblance of a business, understanding that the majority of personal training clients want before work or after work. So that's why most personal trainers are working early and late, but they're never really taking advantage of either, because one is super early and one's super late, and basically you're just going to bed and doing it all over again. So what we did was we set up let's just say 6 a.m. appointment. Then we set up a 6:45, a 7:30, and an 8:15. So now they could get in 4 appointments instead of just 2 or 3 in the early morning. And then they could do 1 or 2 other appointments throughout the rest of the morning. And that was basically it. That was 6 a day times 5 days a week was 30 appointments a week, or 120 or so over the month. And if you just do the math, think about how much you charge per personal training session, then just multiply that by 120, right? So you can earn a really great living. And that's what we did. And then it gave personal trainers back the rest of their day, like their life, and they could actually have a life too and just work like normal hours. But in order to pull that off, when they came in and work in the morning, they had to already be prepped and ready, because there was no time to prep then. So what we created was batching and chunking. And I want to share some of that with you right now. So for personal trainers, on Sundays, or on one afternoon a week, if they didn't want to work at all on the weekends, because some of them just like being done at 1:30, right? Or some didn't want to work the whole morning. But they would actually spend 2 hours creating new programs on a Sunday afternoon, which is what I used to do back in the day, or they would do it in one of the afternoons. And that would allow them to create like 4 or 5 new programs per week. Because remember, all your clients, if they're on 4-week programs or 6-week programs, they're not all going through new workouts the same exact week of the month. So let's say you had 20 or so clients. 4 or 5 this week, 4 or 5 the next week, and then you just cycle through, and it works really well. So now they're prepped, their workouts are created, they come in 15 minutes before their appointment, they're dressed, they're ready, they grab their clipboard, they're good to go. They're prepped and ready for their client. Simple, easy. Now, for them, they didn't check text messages. They didn't check emails, any of those things until those morning appointments were done. Then they knew they could do what? They could spend 30 minutes responding to their clients that needed them around, let's say 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m. Then they would work with a couple more clients, and then at 1:30, they would respond again to emails. Do you see how they weren't doing it all day long? Which would do what? Well, it would disrupt all of their time. So you might say, well, what were they doing for the other hours? They were doing study. They were doing their education, continuing education units. We might have a team meeting. They might do their own workout. Any of those things is what they would be doing. And so all of that needs to be scheduled. But the thing is, this is what I've always seen, is that even just in everyday life, people every single day, they check their email all day long, they check social media all day long, and there's no semblance to taking control of their schedule. So even though you might say, well, it's only 10 minutes here and it's only 15 minutes there, when you look at it over the course of the day, if you added all of those back up, it'd be a couple hours. And so I'm not saying you can never check social media or post on social media. As a coach, you probably want to do that to get more clients, right? But what you want to do is what we also teach inside of the business mentorship experience, inside of IHP. Here's what we do. We basically say, if you're going to do what a lot of our coaches do, and that's the 10 to 20 hours per week, great. At 10 hours a week, what I want you to do is think about doing 2 appointments a day and 1 hour of prep time. All right, that's what I want you to think about. So that means every day you need to block off 2 hours, but you also need to block off 1 more hour for your prep for those clients, because it might be at 8 or 9 or 10 or so in the morning. Well, you can start that at 7 or 8. Like, you can start it a couple hours before if you want, or if not, you do it the night before. No problem at all. But what you want to do is not leave this up to guesswork. You want to actually time block, right? So what batching and chunking is you say, I'm going to not check email all day long. I'm going to actually batch it and do it at certain times of the day. So for me, I will do email to start the day. I will do email around lunchtime, and I will do email at the end of the day, and I will never do it at any other time during the day. At social media, I would never check on social media in the morning. I will do it at lunchtime, and I will do it at the end of the day. That's it. Okay? So that's how I batch those things. They need to get done, but I want to be in and out. I don't want it to consume a lot of my life, because I've shared this before. What did I just teach this in HPH as well? It's like I have 3 main priorities. I have my family, I have my work, I have my health. Everything else, there's like other tiers. There's important things as well, but I need to focus on those first, right? So if I'm checking social media all day long, then I'm not doing my work, or I'm not with my family like that it should be. So like that's how I batch those down. Now, in terms of my client programming, I like to do it at the very early part of the day. I like to start early and do that. And the reason is I like them and their conditions and what I need to work on fresh in my mind. Like, I actually like to work. I do these things called deep dives. They're 3-hour-long appointments, and I go in deep on people's blood work and their at-home lab tests. Anything that they send me, I go over, right? And I prep for 2 hours minimum on those. And I'm taking notes. I'm doing research. I'm looking at their labs. I'm developing their plan. It takes at least 2 hours. I like to do that early that day before I meet with them. So then when I meet with them for 3 hours, it's like we know each other. I've been studying you for a couple hours. Then I speak with you. I listen again to what you have going on besides just your intake and your labs. Then I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. I ask more questions, qualifying questions. We take a little 10-minute break. And then after that, I come back and say, here's your plan. And then I go over all of that. And then I leave a little time for Q&A at the end. So everything is streamlined. And then after that's over, then it's a break, because my brain is fried. I've just spent 5.5 hours on that individual straight, no break, right? And then what I do is I just take like 30 minutes to 60 minutes downtime to breathe, reset the circadian rhythm, reset that heart rate variability, move out of that autonomic nervous system, fight or flight dominance. Although I try to stay pretty calm in those. I actually look at my HRV and all those different things. But just to turn the mind off from really complex work and numbers and all that, and emotional, right? It's very emotional. All these people have a lot of health issues, or they're working on anti-aging and healthy biohacking, whatever it might be. But there's a lot. And so then I make that shift, and that's blocked as well. And so what I'm sharing with you is this, is that everything needs to get done in a given day, but don't jump back and forth between activities. So what I like to look at is that most health coaches need to do emailing. They need to respond to their comments on social media and their direct messages. Let's link those together because you're already inside of the app, right? Instagram, whatever it might be. You need to post on social media if you're trying to get clients. If you don't need any clients anymore, well then, yeah, you don't need to post on social media. So you're good. You save a lot of time during the day. But that's probably 30 minutes. Then you need to do prep work for your clients. Then you need to do scheduling with your clients. Even if it's automated, you need to look at your schedule, make sure that's good. And then you need to do invoicing for your clients, right? So when you look at that, again, we're saying that a health coach, you're doing 2 appointments a day, 10 for the week, 40 for the month. You might say, oh, that's nothing. That's really not that big deal. No, it is. Like 40 appointments for the month is helping 40 people, and you're earning also an amazing living. I mean, like, just think about the math. If you're doing 40 hours and you on average make $200 per hour, you're making $100,000 a year. So you're also making an amazing income. Now, we just have to understand, though, that those aren't the only hours that you're working, right? So on top of that, 10 hours a week, 2 hours a day, you're probably looking at another 10 hours realistically. 1 hour for prep work. And this is if you're a health coach. It's not as much prep work if you're a personal trainer, that's okay, or even massage therapist. But you still have to look at like client reviews and scheduling, all those things. So you're looking at for every 10 hours you work, you're looking at another 5 to 10 hours that week of work. And that is absolutely realistic for sure. So let's even just say it's 10. So for every 10 hours, well, now you're working 20 hours for the week. Still not that bad, right? Because you're working 20 hours for the week, 4 hours a day, and you're making an incredible income. So what I want to share with you, though, is in order not to drive yourself crazy, be super stressed out, you need to block the day. And you might say, okay, for me to work 10 hours a week, my hours are going to be 8 in the morning till noon, or 9 in the morning till 1. We have a lot of stay-at-home mom and stay-at-home dads that do this. They drop their kids off, then they start work at 9 o'clock. They prep for an hour. First call might begin at 10 a.m., second call 11 a.m. Then after that, they do social media, answer their comments, do their scheduling, and then they're done by 12:30, 1 o'clock. And so if you schedule all of those things, you don't need to wake up right away and look at your email, look at all these different things. No, you know that, okay, at 9 a.m., I do my prep work. At 10 a.m., I begin my first consultation. I finish my one consultation, and then I go right to my next one, and that one goes from 9 to 10 is prep, 10 to 11 is client 1, 11 to 12 is client 2. Great. And they could be half hours, they could be whatever, but it's just your 2-hour block of time that you're working. Now you're done at 12 o'clock, and at 12 o'clock, you are going to write your social media post for the day. And it's actually really easy after working with the client, because think about all the issues that they just had, right? Like, you're just going to talk about one of them and how you can help them solve that. Just one simple takeaway for social media. Could be a video, it's fresh in your mind, could be a post, could be a graphic, whatever it is. All right, so now you do that for 30 minutes. Also, just like personal training, we have a lot of IHPs that just do 2 hours on a Sunday, and they shoot their 5 to 7 videos or 5 to 7 posts for the week. Just 5 is typically good, Monday through Friday. And that works. And then after that, you're going to check in on your emails for the day. You're going to check in on your scheduling. You're going to send out your different invoices, and you're done. You're literally done. Sure, you can check email again at 5 o'clock if you want, just to see if you got any client questions. You need to do scheduling for the next day. But that's all that it takes. And it might sound simple, and it truthfully is, once you get all of your systems in place and you batch and chunk down all of the things that you need to do. So all the social media this time, all the emails this time, all the scheduling invoices this time, all the direct messages this time, right? And your client appointments at this time. So I wanted to share that with you today because I don't want you to be super stressed out when growing your business and your practice. Yes, there is a little bit of work outside of your scheduled appointment hours, but that's why you're also charging a little bit more too, right? You're not charging just for the appointment, you're charging for all the prep work and the follow-up that you need to do as well. Hopefully this was helpful. Of course, pass it on to a colleague if you feel it can help. help. For all the show notes from today's show, head on over to ihp.coach/278. Have an amazing rest of the week.